Hello, chat. We're live and alive. Here we go. The music back on. Let's turn that down, actually. Hello, hello, hello. This is the layout. How we feeling about it? Got all the socials down here. Sorry, Siri's acting up a little bit. I think my positions on things will become clear as I go on. What I want to do is engage in topics of discussion. I just want to be a point of conversation. Not a point of conversation, but a pusher of conversation, as I'm sure we all do. And in that case, I will use whatever voice I gain, and I pledge to do and uphold the most good possible. If I ever fail to do that, my bad. I'll do better next time. Now that we've got that out of the way, my name is Alphon Duo, as the socials can see. We've got about a minute into this session yet. Got music going on in the background, and that's useful because it's a little loud. The music in the background is useful because my mic has an issue. There's a little bit of a kink in it somewhere in the cord, I think, and so it sounds weird. Also, I've got continuity camera, so that's so cool. I really like that. Your chats will show up here, and those will start flooding in whenever they start flooding in. Right now, to wait, I was playing. Where'd my cam go? I was playing Snake. I was playing the version where it's like randomized, like everything's randomized. Some of these are lame, so I die. Some of these are interesting, like this. I might do that a little bit. Let me fix my cam. But while I do that, I'll show you this. That is all set up. Thanks to the Gnostic Society Library for this copy of the Gospel of Thomas, which I have read in its entirety, and have analyzed line by line. I don't have an analysis with me. It will be off the cuff a little bit. Music is a bit loud, especially compared to how my voice is coming out. Let's fix this camera, why don't we? Let's go to properties. We're gonna show. Oh, desk view. Camera. Hello. Hey. Hi. Oh my god. We gotta bring to the front. Concurrent viewers. Hold up. Hitting 9 minutes right now. Where do I move up? There we go. Cool. Now we've got camera and chat and video, audio, and everything. It's my basic stream take. This is, whoa. I like how they got stuck onto each other. That's funny. Probably just keep playing this for another 5 minutes. how long it takes people to come in. Fuck. Oh, these are fun. I love this part of the map. I love it when it's random. You don't really kind of get a steady hold on anything. And in lacking that ground of like rules, it kind of just lets you be in the moment, just like do it instinctually. That's nice. Come at it from the bottom. And no, okay. I was trying to come at it from the bottom and move it up just one. Whoa. And right to my death. We'll keep it going for a little bit. This is easy. Chill. Oh my god. We just think it's theory. Let me take a quick break to some water. It's it makes me feel very wise. Like a Chinese philosopher pouring some tea for their nephew on a long jury, Iroh style. And that's fun. I think Iroh gets a lot of props for his wisdom, and he's deserved. I couldn't tell you whether he's accurately rated, or if he's overrated or underrated. I think he's accurately rated. Iroh's a goat, and Iroh will stay a goat. Hello, viewer, single viewer. Welcome. I'm reading the Gospel of Thomas and explaining this, which I have read in its entirety. These are the secret sayings of the living Jesus that he spoke, written by Didymus Judas Thomas, right? Didymus Judas Thomas was a... Sorry, let me drink my water, calm my nerves. Didymus Judas Thomas means twin, Thomas, right? This is like hypothetically a disciple. We don't necessarily know. We don't know if he was like a real person or if this is just a collection of verbal interpretations that was passed down, right? This was written in, I think, like 100 or so years afterwards. It's a collection of texts found in the Nagamati library. It paints a really interesting picture of Jesus as a person, and it has interesting implications for what Jesus's actual like position was, because there was debate amongst it. Some say it was the agapic tradition, as in the Paul of the Christianity that Paul has given unforth to us. Some say it's another secret thing, literally secret, as in Gnostic, as in like the secret teachings, the secret sayings of the living Jesus. Others say it's false. Some of these stories have validity. Some of these stories have certain disvalidities. All of these stories are true in their own ways, and I think that is, and finding that truth is kind of the secret to understanding how to live in life, because you're gonna find things you disagree with. It's better to look at the value of certain things and to go about them from a perspective of where how much good can this do rather than is this good or bad. Let's get into this. And as he says, whoever discovers the interpretations of these sayings will not taste death. That's pretty handy. That is the most handy. And I will go verse by verse. It's really not that long. I promise you, it seems scary. It seems daunting. It is not that long. It is 100 or so little things going on there. We should be live till about midnight. So we got time. We have hella time. Be clipped up and sent to YouTube and TikTok and whatever. Whoever discloses the interpretations of these things will not taste death. Whether or not that's true, I don't think we're able to get into in the scope of into this, right? That's a whole debate and discussion. Right. Certain people have Gnostic beliefs. Certain people don't. It will come to be apparent which of these two groups I will be in time. But that's just where this text is kind of coming from. It's coming from the perspective of this is the mode of salvation that we have. The mode of salvation, the main separation between Gnostics and agapics, I guess, would be the dichotomy you have there is people who follow the tradition of the Bible, which is the tradition of like love and whatnot, and agape, unconditional love, is the step into salvation. Then there's faith-based salvation. Then there's all these others, which with like the agapic tradition or whatever, has saying that you have to be unconditionally in love, or like you have to love unconditionally, is kind of weird, because it's like you have to love unconditionally. There is what isn't that a condition? You know what I mean? Or else you go to hell. That's the condition. And so I think if you're agapic, you have to be, you can't believe in hell. And there's that. I don't think Gnostics generally believe in hell. Moving on, Jesus said, "Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. And when they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and reign all over. And when they have reigned, they will rest." My interpretation of this passage, right, is again gets back at the conversation between who the agapic tradition is, right, and the other mainstream traditions that have come forth from the person of Jesus, and what Gnostic belief actually is. What actually is Gnostic belief, which is that certain knowledge which is only achieved in certain fashions. Oh wow, where'd all my audio go? Right, it's a secret knowledge given directly by God, right, is the path to salvation. The conversation is on what salvation is, and that's where that is, right? And these people would have been called heretics. These would have been Valentinians, right? These would have been like other sort of people. This is just like a tradition of Christianity that follows the idea of gnosis, and that they seek this gnosis, they continue to seek this gnosis, and when they seek they will be granted, right? And they will find, because it is the process of seeking that is that unveils that it was never covered before, right? Which we'll see what that means in time, right? When they find, they will be disturbed, because the secret that they have is, for some reason, scary to some. Some will have experienced said secret in the modern day. Some will come to said secret. Some will spawn, like not like spawn, but like it will happen spontaneously to them. Some will use illicit substances to produce this sort of secret knowledge within them, and to unlock the secret knowledge. And the effect that I'm talking about is ego death. This is the knowledge. This is this secret. Like, I'm just gonna give it straight out and flat out. The secret to the Gnostic texts is the experience of ego death. Once you have unveiled this secret, you will be disturbed, you will marvel, and you will reign all over, and after they've reigned, they will rest, right? As in, the recognition that you as an individual, these stories that we tell about who we are, right? We can say this in psychology, right? In psychology, we say, the story of me is this collection of ideas, this collection of memories, this collection of experiences that I use to walk through the world, but isn't necessarily real. We call that the self, the ego, right? Everything that isn't that is you, and the only thing that isn't that is the very fact that you are aware, right? And under the experience of ego death, that's all that there is. And as your ego starts to piece itself back together, because it does, in order to exist in the world, you have to have an ego. That is what is like the case in our natural world. We find ourselves to be, that is like unproven fact. Everyone has a self. Well, no, yes. Your ego can be incredibly strong, especially within humans, generally speaking. Your sense of self is so strong to the point where not only does it guide decisions more than intuition does, your sense of self is so strong that not that. Your sense of self is really strong, especially compared to other conscious agents in the world, such as animals, who are lacking in certain self senses, as you give them a mirror test or whatnot, right? They don't have that selfhood, but that doesn't mean that they aren't valuable, because the value comes in the fact that they are able to experience at all, because they have the same thing that is at the core, that it's consciousness, it's awareness, right? It's the realization that all that's left when you realize that everything else is fake and will come and go, is the fact that I am here. I think, therefore I am, right? That is the only thing I can be certain of, right? And other people have that as well, and that is the security that they find, right? Ego death isn't just that realization. It is the experience of experiencing that nothing else is real. It is the experiencing of realizing that the thing that is the most real, the thing that is primary to all of reality, is the fact that you are aware and reality is made up. It's made up on top of that, right? Now it can be made up so intimately and complexly that it actually feels real to the experiencer, which is I am, right? It feels real to all of us, which are that one said experiencer. But that doesn't mean that it is real. God's imagination is the discussion there at hand. And given God's imagination, I have to slide this in somewhere, because I need to make sure. Given this is God's imagination, all individuals, right? All individuals are part of a unified, larger, not self, because it doesn't necessarily have a sense of self, but a unified, larger totality of one unit, which is awareness, which brings unity and gives not only justification for unifying peoples and bringing greater conversation between the human species and allowing humans to organize themselves in radical like mutual aid, like self-assured, like mutually self-assured, as in like I got your back, you got mine, like and living in that way. There's justification for that, and that will come, but that is like mainly because all things are one. Unity. To disrespect life is to disrespect yourself, right? That's where a lot of this leftist like cat attitude comes out of it. Like that is like at the core of it, but it does get a lot more complex. It does get a lot more deep, and it does get very weird. It does get very non-dual, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about this stuff. Jesus said, if your leaders say, look, the Father's kingdom is in the sky, right? This is him giving a little bit of context as to, this is Jesus giving a little bit of context as to what the reality is, right? If you assume that God's going to tell you, look, the Father's kingdom is in the sky, right? Or your fucking pastor says to you, then the birds of the sky will precede you because they can access God. They have greater access to him because they're right there. If they say to you, it's in the sea, and the fish will precede you, right? Because they have greater access, because they're right there. The Father's kingdom is close to you, actually, and not only is it close to you, it is within you, and it is outside of you, right? It is the fact that this point of awareness, right, this Father's kingdom that is revealed to you, right? This like grand realization that, and you come home to the Father's kingdom and you realize it was just you at the end of it all, always and forever. That is your Father's kingdom, and it is within you. It is the awareness, and it is outside of you. It is everything else, because it's all built on that one same truth that I am is just quintessential awareness. Fundamental awareness. Fundamental as in the only thing that exists is awareness. And you'll see the Tao Te Ching says similar things. When you know yourselves, then you will be known. You will understand completely that you are children of the living Father. But you do not know yourselves. Then you live in poverty. Then you are the poverty. Right? When you know yourselves, then you will be known. Duh. Right? When you know yourselves, then you will be known. You are doing... Look at it a bit deeper. You are not only doing the action, you are knowing yourself, right? But you are being received upon. You are getting the action done unto you. You are self-referential. That's what the self is. That's what awareness is, right? It's layers. The self is an abstraction of awareness. That doesn't mean it's bad, right? But that means you have to make sure it doesn't get out of line, because awareness is primary. If there is any hierarchy, which I don't believe hierarchy is real or valid, then it would be that the thing above everything else is awareness. In that way, yeah? And you will understand that you are children of the living Father. You will understand, yeah, exactly what I just said. The living Father, the only thing that ever lived, the only thing that ever existed, awareness and reality built itself on top of that. You are children of that living Father, that awareness that never dies, that never changes, that never grows, exists from moment to moment, always, everywhere, omnipresent, knows everything, omnipotent, right? No, that's all powerful, can do everything, right? Can do everything because it is the function behind everything, right? But also omniscient. And omniscience, oh boy, do I have something about omniscience that's gonna, if God is omniscient, panpsychism is forced to be true, in my opinion. Because you can't know something that isn't, like you can't not know experiential, you can't not have experiential knowledge, but claim to know literally everything, right? To claim to be God and to know all of things ever, you have to have experiential knowledge, which consciousness qualifies that button, but the regular idea of God does not. But if you do not know yourselves, if you do not know what you are, then you live in poverty, then you live in the fact that you lack. You just live in that. You live in the fact that what you have doesn't feel like it's enough because it's not real, because you keep wanting more. And then you are the poverty, because the more that you want is you. Jesus said, the person in old days won't hesitate to ask a child 7 days old about the place of life, and that person will live. For many, the first will be last, and the last will become a single one. Okay. Jesus says, the person in old days won't hesitate to ask a little child 7 days old about the place of life, because they're going where this kid just came from. These two people who seem like they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum are gonna meet full circle. Death in time sometimes has the realization of ego death. I am under the impression that death leads in that direction. But sometimes death can lead to another experience, right? Because why not? It's just conscious. It's just awareness, right? It's just awareness flowing through past your death. Awareness is going to continue, and if there's nothing after it, then just awareness, that's an experience. Sorry to break it to you. I worded that weird. I'll justify it later. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that I also believe in multiple afterlives. I believe in every single afterlife, because awareness can do whatever the hell it wants. Why does it follow the laws of physics, other than just in this section of itself? As in, like, the entire visible universe. As in this section of awareness. The entire visible universe. Jesus said, a person in old days won't hesitate to ask a little child's, already said that. For many, the first will be last. Remember, a bunch of people who grew up Christian or are Christian, or are familiar with Christian um for conversation, cultural conversation, whatever, right? The things that Christians say, for many the first will be last, right? For many of the first will be last. We are familiar. That is a thing that Jesus had said, right? And we take it to mean that the people who like the same thing with the camel, right? The rich people won't be able to enter heaven, right? That's literally what that says, right? And we'll become a single one. That's an addition. What does that mean? Uh-oh. This feels weird because it's outside of our scope of what Christianity is supposed to be, right? Until you stop looking at it like it's supposed to be the same thing that it said within, I think it's John that says that. Many of the first will be last, or probably not many of, probably just says the first will be last. And we'll become a single one. Changes this whole thing. It was never supposed to say that. What it was supposed to say, not that it was never supposed to say that. What it's trying to say is that the first, this one, the one who started and is now old, who was ending it out, and the last, the one who just started, will become a single one by pulling together, and now it's a circle. Like, booyah. Easy. Jesus said, know what's in front of your face. What is hidden from you will be disclosed from you. Know what this is. Know, Hinduism tells of this as well. This is Maya. This is the veil. This is the illusion. Concept in Hinduism, the idea that reality is fake. Reality is not real. Multiple meanings in Hindu philosophies, depending on context. In the ancient Vedic literature, Maya literally implies an extraordinary power and wisdom. Later in Vedantic texts and modern literature, dictated, Maya contains a magic show, an illusion, where things appear to be present but are not always as they seem. Maya is also a spiritual not spiritual concept connotating that which is exist is constantly changing and thus is spiritually unreal. Real is the term there, right? Unreal is the opposition to what is. Maya says that reality is unreal against reality. What is reality then? What is the thing that is real? It is awareness. And then the thing that exists on top of it that constantly changes is Maya, is the illusion. As in, also, neuroscience will tell you this as well, right? We have controlled hallucination theory. It's a lot of deductive reasoning, and that's what I'm good at. So, understand that. I also do inductive reasoning, at times, and I try to. And so all of these cultural research and innovation. Hope these guys are credible. But yeah, this guy and Seth and Seth reality is a controlled hallucination. Basically posits that the way that we understand and perceive reality is a is a concoction of the mind, right? The mind exists as a black box, right? I'm paraphrasing, could get some things wrong. Feel free to fact check me, right? The mind exists as a black box, right? And is born not able to, there's nothing there, right? Like they have to find everything out manually. They don't understand anything. There is no contrast between ideas yet, right? Until at some point in the womb, they can start to see the difference between light and dark, right? And then more differences start to appear, and then out of these differences, objects start to appear, right? But all of this understanding reality is just a simulation that your brain is concocting, right? And it's guessing the entire thing. It's predicting it. Not just like building it up, it is predicting it, actively creating it, right? And therefore we have no shared reality, no real shared reality, right? The individual qualities can change, but if they change on a uniform level, nobody would know, right? What you have there is my blue the same blue as your blue, right? If what I experience as blue is what you experience as green, right? But in every single instance that we see those two, it's flipped, right? It just looks normal to you. That's just what we call it. It wouldn't matter. And so what we have is an engine of the brain that hallucinates, right? Sometimes it breaks, and that's what we actually call hallucinations. It's the breaking of this hallucination function, right? And sometimes we dream, and this hallucination function has nothing to hold on to, right? And so it just breaks apart. What I think we hold on to is other bubbles of awareness, which are connected to each other in a direction we can't see. Tuesdays. It's Friday. I love Fridays. I think if I keep talking like this, we might not ever get through it, because we're at 5. For there is nothing that is hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing that is buried that will not be raised. Okay. Interesting. I posit you this. I didn't read that. Let me reread. For there is nothing that is hidden that will not be revealed. Everything will be uncovered, and there is nothing that will buried that will not be raised. Okay. This gets into the idea that consciousness, right, as the agent of events unfolding, right, as the thing that makes things real, right, it posits that consciousness is that, right, that because it's like at the background of reality, it forms things because you experience them, right? In a similar way to how some people would say all of them are experienced. That's why awareness is omnipotent, omniscient. His disciples asked him and said to him, "Do you want us to fast? How should we pray? Should we give to charity? What diet should we observe? Material rituals to recognize spiritual patterns." Jesus said, these are material patterns that you can use. Don't lie. Don't do what you hate, right? Because all of these things are disclosed before heaven. After all, there is nothing that is hidden that will not be revealed, and there's nothing that was covered up that will remain undisclosed. Right? This is the justification for this. Don't lie and don't do what you hate, right? Because when we lie, when we do what we hate, right, the future isn't necessarily sure of that because it hasn't happened yet, right? It doesn't know that happened, and so there's no consequences, right? But it is undisclosed before heaven. No, never mind. I read that completely wrong. Ugh. Rewind and ignore, I guess. These things are disclosed before heaven, not undisclosed. Disclosed are open and revealed to all under heaven. And in this heavenly position, right, what heaven is, what the kingdom of heaven is, right, is the party at the end of time, right? The cosmic joke, right? The realization that you threw your own surprise birthday party. Sorry to tell it to you. And at that moment, not only will you recognize that it was just you, you will recognize who was just you. You will know all of that because you are all of that. You are awareness after all. It will be undisclosed. And if you do what you hate, you'll recognize that you did what you hate, and you'll be bummed the fuck out. You'll be like, why the fuck did I do that? There's no reason I shouldn't have done that because none of this matters because none of it's real. And I'm all that exists. And that's why, and the only reason that anything else exists is for me to be able to have fun and to have depression and to die horrible deaths and to take power and kill people, but also to learn to live in love, but also to grow networks of mutual aid, to feed the poor, to house the unhoused, and to love. You can choose to do either one. Just know there's no difference between these choices in terms of who they affect. And who they affect, it's just you. Not in some like reality is a mirror and the actions you do come back to you kind of way. You are everyone else. You are everything else. It will come back to you because you will do that. And you probably will do it again. And you will experience having that done to you, like the egg story. And you probably won't like it. So, let's not hoard agency, okay? Jesus said, lucky is the lion that the humans will eat, so that the lion does not become human, and foul is the human that the lion will eat, and still the lion will become human. This is the most confusing one in my opinion, and it's one of my favorites. It says, lucky number 7, is the lion that will eat the human, right? That the human will eat, right? These are metaphors. Metaphors, perhaps, for positions of power, right? Let's look at it through one lens. Let's say that the lion is a position of authority, right? Is a king. Lucky is the lion that the human will eat, right? Let's say the human is like, I don't know, because they're lower in the social classes, let's keep this, this is the proletariat, right? Bourgeoisie, proletariat, right? Owning class, working class, right? We'll look at it through that lens, right? If the humans eat the rich, so the lion will become human, right? The proletariat will not will have won in that all peoples will become proletariat. And foul is the human that the lion will eat when we get devoured upon by the beast, right? By this entity, this archetype, right? That is filling that the bourgeoisie is filling the role of right now, right? When the bourgeoisie predates on us, it is foul, and the lion will still become human because, sorry to break it to you, the arrow of progress points towards cohesion, points towards unity. That is one lens you can look at it. You can also say that the lion is the position of inferiority, right? You can say that, like you used the same analogy. Actually, no. Or let's say this is from the position of like consciousness, right? If the lion has a certain awareness, right? Like a lion's awareness, and a human has a certain awareness, a human's awareness, which is aware to see so much more, right? The lion becomes human. The lion, and he's lucky, is able to experience all that the human is able to experience now. It is now become human. And foul is the human that the lion will eat, right? No, never mind. That's the exact opposite of what that says. I guess I'm gonna move on. We've explained one interpretation. We can always come back to it. It's not much to bounce it off of, unfortunately. So, at a different point in time, we'll come back to this. And he said, and the person is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and threw it up. Well, this is another one of those things that is very similar to regular Christian conversation, but it's ever so slightly different to where it actually makes the point that they were saying in the Bible not make any sense. Which shows that these things had conversation. There were conversations about these things. These things weren't set in stone. These things, no, we're not set in stone. Don't forget that. Among them, the wise fisherman discovered a fine large fish. He threw it up from the he threw all the little fish back into the sea and easily chose the large fish. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. We see this phrase all the way everywhere throughout the Bible. Anyone with 2 good eyes to see, right? That kind of thing. After Jesus would give a parable, right? And that implies that this is this follows that tradition. Perhaps it breaks that tradition, or perhaps the tradition that we understand is a little bit incomplete. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. Among the fish who had been pulled up from the sea by this fisherman, the one large fish was easily chosen. You could take that flat out and follow the what he says when he says do what you want to do, don't do what you hate, right? You could also say follow the position that it had in the Bible, right? And look at it through that lens, right? The metaphor that has it there. You can also say that they picked up so much fish, right? Because they're fishers of men, right? And it's given amongst to them, right? Or never mind. biblical tradition has a certain pattern of passage like this, and I think I'm talking so much that I'm blanking on said pattern. Let's look at. Do I have a Bible app? Doesn't look like it. Looks like we're gonna have to go to Bible.com. All right, whatever. Looking at our sources. Fisher parable. Discuss the conversation. Mexican fisherman. What the hell is this? Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that once was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up from the shore. When they sat down and collected good fish in the basket, they threw the bad fish away. This is how it will be at the end of age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteousness and throw them into the blazing furnace, where it will be kept weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? If the fisherman is God, right? And this fisherman chooses humans, and that's this pattern, right? Is like the fisherman or the shepherd is usually God. I guess it is the same in both of these passages. But it is also, I don't know if it's the case always in this off the top of my head. Among them, the wise fisherman chose a fine large fish. Could say that that's consciousness, but I'd say that's a bit of a reach. In that I mean, you could definitely say that. Kind of running out of steam here. I'm gonna take an intermission and go grab myself some tea. Five minutes. Thank you. Oh, okay, yikes. I'm back. I didn't get the tea. For right now, I have water. I got my sister to do it because I want to chug this thing out, but I also don't know how long I can go for. I guess it's a muscle I'll have to build with time. We still have 10 more of these to do, and we're halfway through the stream. 10 times more of these. 10 times 10 more of these. 100 at least. Yeah, the sower, this one is, I don't know if it's too different. For, like, a wise fisherman. Among them, the wise fisherman discovered a large fine fish. This large fine fish, is a, I'm unsure. To be honest, sometimes you just gotta throw in the towel and say, I'm unsure. Let's me make good on my promise to explain it and look at interpretations. Gospel of Thomas sayings 8. Oh. Verse 8. Our commentary. Okay. The invocation. Thomas, also known as the Coptic Gospel of Thomas, extra biblical canon. Yeah. Was discovered in Egypt. They were hidden. Secret canon Christian structure. Early, yeah, no. That's about it. That's how old the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas is. It's supposed to be an oral tradition. Verse 8. The wise fisherman finding the one thing a fisherman needs to sustain his life. A large fish chose that fish above all else. But considering an ordinary man or woman, what is their worth when they have to feed themselves? For all people will surely have to ask for the reason itself. Okay, just need a little bit of a jump start a little bit, right? We can look at it from either the perspective of if this is God, right? If this is God, he will choose you, because there is only you. There is only one large fish, and that is the only thing that matters. And he will choose you because you are you. And you will choose you, and you are him. He is it. That's I'm putting that out there as if it's a fact. Let me preface this. I'm putting this out there as if it's a fact. This is entirely my opinion. Could not be the case. It could also be the case. Could. You never know. Schrodinger discovered maybe it's both. Discovered a fine large fish. What if it's from the perspective of the fisherman is you? You as a person, right? You as a self, right? If you as a self find the one thing you find in life, right? As they said, right? The one thing you need, you'll recognize that all the rest is junk. You won't be like God, who's like parsing through the good and the bad. You'll recognize that there is one good, and that is that all things are one, and so there is a need to act accordingly. I thank you so much. Oh my goodness, you're such a goat. I love you. New mug. Oh, this music is kind of loud. back to the Gospel of Thomas. The Jesus said the sower went out and took a handful of seeds and scattered them. Some fell on the road, and some the birds came and gathered on them. The others fell on the rock, and they didn't take root in the soil and didn't produce heads of grain. Others fell on thorns and choked, and the seeds and the worms ate them. And others fell on good soil, and it produced a good crop. It yielded 60 per measure, 120 per measure. Very similar, I think almost the exact same as the sower's parable within the biblical canon, if I'm not mistaken. This is the entire parable. Okay, there's multiple. Not this time. There we go. You just kind of gotta look for it sometimes. The sower, Jesus Christ. Okay. The sower is best explained. Scripture is the best interpreter of itself. Yes. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. Okay. Is this the sower? Yes, it is. Oh. Okay. Well, I guess it was here. I just was too lazy to actually read it. That same day, Jesus went out to the crowd and sat by the lake. Such a large crowd gathered and told him, hold on.
That same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Two such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. 3 Then he told them many things in parables, saying, A farmer went out to sow his seed. For as he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. 5 Some fell on rocky places, where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, because the soil was shallow.
Some fell on the road. Yeah, it's good to cross-reference. Scattering seeds. Some fell on rocky places. Didn't have much soil. Didn't produce heads of grain. But the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no roots. Yeah, no, so it's not exactly the same. I know there probably is multiple places where the parable shows up. I'm a little rusty on my biblical texts. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn. Growing up Christian all my life, that's an experience. Reading the biblical text pushes you in a certain direction, and that direction tends to be away from mainstream Christianity, either into more radical versions of Christianity, or into more incorrect versions of Christianity, as in antichrist, like, as in fascist Christianity, as in racist Christianity, as in anti-egalitarian Christianity. But it sometimes also mainstream, as in agapic, as in Protestantism, right? General Protestantism. Christian nationalism is not that. Into New Age spiritual traditions to other religions to whatever the hell this is. And that's because Protestantism, as well as Catholicism in the past, but not always, has, oh, well, actually, I don't know, has used, um, levers of authority and levers of power to systematically uphold their will above the will of the individuals and people who don't necessarily jive with that. And that's understandable. The this one the interpretation is the exact same thing that most regular people have. The exact same interpretation. It talking about good. This is parts of where that comes into play, where I say some of it pushes it away from agapic traditions as well, and into stuff like this. But also, just some of it just is icky. But that's just because it comes from a different perspective. That comes from first century Palestine. Like especially not just this part, but one of the ones at the end. This one probably added later. Simon Peter said to them, "Make Mary leave us, for females don't deserve life." Jesus said to them, "I will guide her to make her male, so that she does not, so that she too may become a living spirit and resemble you males. Males, for every female who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven." That sounds really, really bad until you recognize that the only thing that actually matters in this is for every female who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. The same goes for males. It is, at the end of the day, an egalitarian thing. Is that it's about the unity. It's like, okay, yeah, you really think she can't be with us? Well, then I'll make her a guy so that she can. You know what I mean? And I'll make you a girl so that you can hang out with them, because all of you are the exact same. I haven't drinking any money tea. It's green. It's nice. It's mellow. All right. I think we don't have much time. We have 45 minutes. Speed run. I also have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder diagnosed, so that is a thing that will be apparent and will affect the stream and the stream quality at times. Jesus said, "Lucky is the lion that the human will eat." Oh, we're way back. Said, that's at least my interpretation of it. My interpretation of this is that inherently it's good in that, like, it tells you, like especially from like this perspective, that no, I don't know what I'm talking about. This one breaks my brain because it's so similar, but also because it's not as like overt in its like, I don't know, it's too similar to the other one, and it doesn't necessarily, unless I'm missing something, it doesn't necessarily point towards anything, and so I feel like I'm just an idiot and I'm missing something, but maybe I'm just tired. This one has, well, that's my interpretation of it, is like the not the Oh my god. Rewind, reset. Welcome back. This one, with the context of all of the rest of the sayings of Jesus that have happened so far, right? This one shouldn't necessarily be about people going to hell or heaven, because if it is about people going to hell or heaven, like it says at the end, like the gnashing of teeth or whatever. Oh my god, whatever. You saw it. What it says about gnashing the teeth? It says that it's based off of not only the fact that all things are one, right? But then it's telling you that certain conditions yield good outcomes. Not that I'm so blind. This is the ultimate dialectic that we have here, right? This conversation from the perspective of the Gnostics, they come out here and say, look, the sower went out, threw a handful of seeds. Some of them were in bad spots and didn't grow. Some of them were in good spots and they grew a lot. 60 per measure. One and 120 per measure. It's a lot. It grew a lot because they were in the right conditions, right? Because they had that good fodder, that good soil, and it produced a good crop. Yet from the biblical perspective, what the parable of the sower tells you is kind of the exact opposite. That that not that the thing that matters is that you are that you like spawn in certain materials, and that is going to lead to certain sufferings. Therefore, you come to your own conclusion about what we should do to that. It tells you the conclusion right out front is saying this was preordained because we have God, and that is who is parsing through these people, and you as an individual who land in the bad spot are cursed to go to hell because of your actions, because of your material conditions, because of the place that you found yourself in. That's the difference between this and this. It's the conclusion. That's what I was missing. Jesus said, I have cast a fire upon the world, and I am guarding it until it blazes, right? This is kindling, right? I cast a fire. It's a violent imagery, but what he's doing is telling you the fire is not in. The fire has not ignited yet, and the fire will come to ignite. Until then, I'm guarding it. The fire, in this case, is variable. The fire in this case is perhaps the unleashing of these secrets to make them public, to make them common knowledge, these divine secrets, this information. And it smolders, and it rises, and it grows, and then it blazes. It'll explode, and you won't even recognize when it happens. Planetary Christ consciousness. Can you imagine it? It's that's the prophecy. That's the coming kingdom of heaven, despite the existent kingdom of heaven. Red Shambhala. Actually, I don't know if it's Red Shambhala. I literally have just heard of it on TikTok. I don't know if that's what that is, but if it were to be anything, that probably would be what I'd imagine it to be. Because when when everybody is Christ conscious, what we have is a world of people who are aware that we're living in an illusion and choose to live in the illusion and choose to do good in that illusion, because there's no other thing to do but to recognize that good matters on its own face value, because I would love to love you because I love me. That's that fire. And it would be cooler, and it would be cool, and it'd be awesome, because then it's like playing multiplayer mode on like what's it called? What's the one when you play again? The New Game Plus. It's like New Game Plus on consciousness. You know the whole story. Now you just explore the game with the mechanics and the achievements that you come up with that you get to keep. And you get to keep growing and keep expanding. The human story will continue past that, and will continue and grow and change and shift. This is what comes during the Ion of Pisces, prophesized by the great fucking prophet Carl Jung. Carl Jung had that idea, but didn't necessarily keep it. No, that's not true. What the hell am I talking about? I'm just talking. Jesus said, "This heaven will pass away, and the one above it will pass away." The dead are not alive, and the living will not die. During the days which you ate, what is dead, you made it come alive. But when you were in the light, what will you do? One day, when you were one. On the day when you were one, you became two. But when you become two, what will you do? This, I'll come back to. The dead are not alive, right? The dead don't have the thing that marks life. The thing that marks things that move, right? As in awareness, perhaps, right? And the living will not die. As in, the ones who are aware will not cease to be aware. This implies a dualism that says that the material world exists, or like is a certain illusion, but is built upon a certain thing, but that is contested within these conversations. This, like, there's a world that we can interact with, but our awareness casts a projection onto it, and then we interact with that projection. Some people don't know if that's true. During the days when you ate what was dead, you made it come alive, right? During the days, this is past tense. I'm not sure what that would mean. But when you ate what is dead, right, you brought some material that isn't necessarily like a part of your system, right? A part of your system of biology. You ate it, and it entered your system of biology. You put it into these systems, right? You recognized that like you absorbed it, and it became you, and it stayed you, right? When you are in the light, what will you do? You are now what is dead, like in this position, right? You are now like you, as in the ignorant person. When you recognize what is true, you will be absorbed into it in the same way the food is absorbed into your system. On the day when you were one, when you were the only thing that existed. You became two, became the thing that experiences and the thing that is experienced. When you became two, what will you do? Be. Be. That's what you're gonna do. The disciples said to Jesus, "We know you're going to leave us. Who will be our leader?" And Jesus said, no matter what you're going to, no matter where you are going to go to James the Just, for whose sake heaven and earth has come into being. James is the brother of Jesus, who, in, at least from my knowledge, didn't believe Jesus first, and then came to be one of his strongest supporters, and allegedly wrote a book in the Bible called James, within the New Testament post Jesus, right? And this book is one of the most revolutionary books in the Bible. One of the books that has some of the best not material analysis, but material criticisms of those who find more value in that which is material, as in that which is illusory, as in this world, right? But those people, and they find worth in that, how they're wrong and what they're doing is bad, and we need to protect the meek, right? That was what James was all about. That would have been, if this is a saying of Jesus, that's him saying, do that. Do that. Let me see if I'm spreading misinformation. Nope. What will you do? 12. Wherever you are to go to James. Jesus loved his disciple. Jesus also loved James, of course, but that at the time, Jesus knew that his brother James was skeptical. At best, Jesus' claim was to divine knowledge, therefore his teachings also. I was skeptical at best of Jesus' divine knowledge, and therefore of his teachings also. James also criticized
his disciples. Jesus also loved James, of course, but at that time Jesus knew that his brother James was skeptical, at best, of Jesus' claims to divine knowledge, therefore of his teachings also. James's past criticisms of Jesus included, Jesus is a sinner just like me. How can he be the Son of God? And how can my brother, with whom I grew up with, be the Son of God? With an understanding limited to just this much. James displayed a lack of higher understanding, particularly to the nature of sin and judgment. Further, overall, James's understanding was mired in the ignorance of duality. James had no notion of the non-dual reality of existence. In this respect, James was like most other people at that time. After all, this was the reason Jesus came to us. So why would Jesus send his disciples to be led by James? Well, we know that James the righteous was a good man, so he could be relied on to do his best for the disciples. It must also be true that Jesus hoped or predicted that James would eventually come into the light and see the truth of Jesus' teachings for himself. In fact, James's realization did come about at the time of Jesus' crucifixion, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. This salutation supports our assumptions above. Heaven and earth coming into being marked the downfall in consciousness from the truth and bliss of divine immortality to the experience of our present state of duality desire, sickness, pain, and death.
Yeah.
Jesus' salutation to James was a caveat for those with ears to hear, as it were. For further indication of Jesus' real meaning here, see the above verse 11. Jesus said, "This heaven will pass away, and the one above it will pass away."
Did James, brother of Jesus, right? James. If it's not written to him, it's attributed to him, which doesn't have the same impact. But it definitely is a testament to that kind of the idea that that could have been the case. That's a interpretation that's possible. The prevailing view remains that James, the brother of Jesus, is the author of the epistle bearing his name. Where are we getting that source from? Answer: the author of James identifies himself as James, servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. How would you feel about saying that about your brother? That's crazy. Because James was an early martyr, the likely candidate for authorship is the epistle of this epistle is James, the brother, skeptic at the time of Jesus' ministry. Okay, yeah, that's just logic. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he would chance to be that. And that man was spitting some fire. Okay. Let's look at a verse from James. I can push it tonight. I can definitely push it past 11:30. James, full chapter. Trials and temptations. New International Version. Can we get what's the version I got on my Bible app? One moment. Yo, are you serious, bro? I guess no, I haven't. Okay. No, I don't have it. Huh. Okay. Whatever. What's the most accurate version of the Bible? New Revised Standard. The Tree of Life version. Oh wow, all these could be interesting. Why is okay? Can I get the New Revised Standard version normal? Okay. New American Standard Bible. Okay. I know this one is generally credible. Slowing down this time. It's part of the broadcast. Has a reputation of one of the most accurate and standard. Or the word approach. I don't really care too much. I would check to see like why they say that. Not why. I know why they generally say that because it's like translated like word for word rather than for meaning. But yeah. James, a bondservant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. The 12 discipled, um, who were dispersed abroad, greetings. Consider it a joy. Um, let's read.
Consider it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you encounter various trials, 3 knowing that the testing of your faith produces D, endurance. 4 and
Mm,
let E, endurance have its perfect F, result, so that you may be G, perfect and complete, lacking in nothing.
mhm. But if you lack any wisdom, right? What he could be talking about there is like actual like wisdom of like gnosis. Um, let him ask of God, who gives him to him generally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. In terms of wisdom, ask for wisdom, ask for gnosis. You will get it if you genuinely ask for wisdom with the caveat of belief. I think you can ask God, you can ask the universe, whatever higher power you believe in most. Whatever you think can grant you wisdom or the ability to understand this stuff, just ask and trust in it. It will be revealed to you, because at the end of the day, it was you who granted yourself that permission. Um beloved. Whatever. Also in the book of James, it talks about your the sin of partiality, faith and works. You gotta do both. You gotta be aware, and you gotta act on it. So get organized. Work with your local soup kitchen, and join DSA if you think that will be helpful. Unless you think it's run by the CIA, I guess. Organize. Faith and works, bro. Faith and works. Gnosis and organization. The tongue is fire, wisdom from above. Things to avoid. Misuse of riches, exhortation. Now come on, you rich people, weep and howl for your miseries, which are coming upon you. Your riches have rotten, and your garments have become moth-eating. Your gold and your silver have corroded. Their corrosions will serve you as a testimony against you, and will consume your flesh like its fire. In the last days you have stored up your treasure. Behold, the payers of the laborers who mowed your fields, which has been withheld from you, it cries against you. The cry out from those who did the harvesting has reached the ears of the Lord of armies. You have lived for the pleasure on earth and for luxury, and you have fattened their hearts of the days of slaughter, and you have condemned and put to death the righteous person, and he offers you no resistance. Therefore, be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. The farmers wait for the precious soil, and being patient about it. Reset. Therefore, be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer awaits for the precious. Hold on. You can't be doing all that. Hold on. I'll put on music over it after. You ready? Therefore, be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer waits for the precious. Therefore, be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer waits for the precious produce of the soil, being patient about it until it gets the very. Whatever, I'll just read it normally. You too, be patient. Strengthen your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is near. Do not complain, brothers and sisters, against one another, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing right at the door. As an example, brothers and sisters, of suffering and patience, take prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord, and we count those blessed who endure. You have heard of the endurance of Job and have seen of the outcome of the Lord's dealing. The Lord is full of compassion and is merciful. This is our message to you, my Gnostic proletariat.
But above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, either by heaven, or by earth, or with any other oath, but, L, your yes is to be yes, and your no, no, so that you do not fall under judgment. Is anyone among you suffering? Then he must pray. Is anyone cheerful? He is to sing praises. 14, is anyone among you sick? Then he must call for the elders of the church, and they are to pray over him, M, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. 15, and the prayer of faith will, N, restore the one who is sick, and the Lord will raise him up. And if he has committed sins, O, they will be forgiven him. 16, therefore, confess your sins to one another, and pray for one another so that you may be healed.
Prayer of a righteous person.
P, prayer of a righteous person, when it is Q, brought about, can accomplish much. 17, Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and he prayed, R, earnestly that it would not rain. And it did not rain on the earth for 3 years and 6 months. 18, then he prayed again, and the sky, S, poured rain, and the earth produced its fruit.
Yeah. Prayer is power. Prayer is about communication. Prayer is about awareness. Prayer is about bringing attention to things. Manifestation, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But also, prayer is about asking and is about getting together, with, this higher power, talking to God, communion with God, communication with God, right? And in that, if you are God, if everyone else is God, collectively together, because we are awareness, the way that which these things will be given unto you is shown right here. The way that you will be healed is call for the elders of the church, and they are to pray over him. The community, not the church as an institution. The church in this time was a community. The church in this time was your neighborhood, was the village elders, was the mutual aid group. This text that we call biblical canon needs to be understood through that perspective, through that first century perspective, where they understand, where they're living in communities, and the 12 have been dispersed, right, to go out and to speak the message, but these like communions, these communes, these cults of Christians are going around together, spreading good, owning all things in common. And it turns out a lot of them were Gnostic. Gnosticism is one aspect of this conversation, but it is not the only aspect of this conversation, and it is not, and I don't want it to stay the only aspect of this conversation. I also want to be able to describe the things like the Tao, and all that, and how they fit into this mold, because really all of it comes together in really such a beautiful way, and I really hope you stick with me. I was gonna play the USSR anthem when I read the thing, but it wasn't even worth it. Um, Jesus said to his disciples, "Compare me to something and tell me what I'm like." Simon said, "You are like a messenger." Matthew said, "You are like a wise philosopher." And these are true, right? But Thomas, Judas, Didymus, the twin, remember, Thomas, Judas, Didymus is the twin of Jesus, right? Which means twin. Thomas, Judas, Didymus means twin. Um, twin, Thomas, I guess, or I guess Thomas was also twin. Twin, Judas, twin. Um, Didymus would have been Thomas's Greek name. Um, would have been Judas's, yeah, that would have been a Greek name. Thomas would have been fucking, I don't know, the whatever. I think I might be spreading information. But these are different translations of the name. These are two different translations. I think this one's Aramaic. Um, Judas, this brother of Jesus, right? Um, that this is like supposedly like pointing towards, right? Is doubting Thomas is the one who's like, well, I don't know. I I have to see it with my hands to believe, right? Is supposed to be the one to have said this, which has the added connotation, and then points to the thing that says the person who had the doubts was the also the one who like reached awareness so quickly and knew exactly what was going on. Um, which does have a bit of a contradiction, but all contradiction is truth um lacking witness. Um and so it will come to be seen in time. When he says to you, Thomas, remember doubting Thomas, the twin, the reflection of Jesus, right? The reflection of Jesus awareness, consciousness, Christ consciousness. Said, "My teacher, my mouth is utterly unable to say what you are like." Right? Um in that way, at this point in time, and even to some extent now, there is no way to describe this concept. Actually, no. There is no way to describe this concept and put it into a way that is able to unlock it for somebody. I can't tell you what Jesus actually is. I literally cannot tell you what it is. But you can experience it for yourself, and I can tell you about that experience, and I can describe the evidence that we have pointing towards that being the case. Um but I can't tell you what it is. And I can explain exactly why I think that this is the thing, but I can't tell you what it is. You have to experience it, and you have experienced it. You just forgot. You're just ignorant at the moment. And Jesus says to him, "I am not your teacher then, because you have drunk. You become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have tended." Christ here is the anointed one, and is pointing. He's saying that he's casting a fire again, right, onto the earth, right, and you, the twin, the reflection, have recognized it, have noticed that, have said, "I see you, and I see me in the same spot and the same time, because we are one." Um, and so I am not your teacher. I have nothing to teach you, because you know everything. Everything that matters, at least. And he took him and withdrew him and spoke three things to him, saying, and spoke three sayings to him. When Thomas came back whose friends, they asked him, "What did Jesus say to you? If I tell you one of the things he spoke to me, then you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come from the rocks to devour you." Um, this is the concept of reflection. Let's say if what he said was like some crazy truth, like, I am you, right? And you come to pick up stones to say, "Hey, no, fuck you. You're a heretic. You're a liar. You're misleading people into actually like doing like demon worship," right? You throw those stones, right? Those rocks that attack that you have done unto me will reflect back into you, because you are attacking a reflection of yourself. A reflection of yourself. And it is yourself, and you have to remember that, because awareness is the unifying factor between, not between all things, but within all things, and without all things, as in through, as in above, as in outwards. Jesus said to them, it's kind of like karma. Um, Jesus said to them, if you fast, you will bring up sin upon yourself. And if you pray, you will be condemned. And if you give to charity, you will harm your spirits. When you go into any region and walk about the countryside, when people take you in, eat what they serve you and heal the sick among them. After all, what goes in your mouth does not defile you. It is what comes out of your mouth that will defile you. Right? If you fast, this was also seen in the Bible. What goes in your mouth does not defile you. Meaning that Christianity has no dietary restrictions in that regard. Intoxication is still generally frowned upon, because or like at least with alcohol, especially because like, don't get drunk, they say, because remember, it is what comes out of your mouth that will defile you, right? It is what you profess. It is what you speak into the world that will deface you, that will rip you apart, because remember again, you are throwing the stones and the rock is coming back and will burn and devour you and will strike you twice as hard. Whatever goes around comes around. If you focus on material matters to solve spiritual or identitarian psychological issues, as like medication, right? I guess like the modern equivalent would be like the pharmaceutical industry, something like that, like SSRIs. You will harm your spirits, because you don't recognize that. It is not the thing that will cause you actual harm, is the fact that you are not reflecting upon your true nature. And when that comes out of your mouth, and as in like it begins to actualize from a thought to a behavior or a pattern or a speech or whatever, it will then be reflected onto you in some way. This is all archetypal. This is all deductive. This is all speaking generally speaking. Jesus said, when you see one who is not born of woman, fall on your faces and worship. That one is your Father. The one who is not born of a woman, the one who was not born of a woman, was not born. That which is unmoved, that which has spraught from the beginning, that which has been there, that which continues to be there, that which was, is, and is to come. What fits into that position? In terms of existence, for things to really exist, with this model of the freaking the quantum whatever, this vision of what you don't experience isn't rendered, right? Awareness is what renders everything, and because there are multiple points of awareness, we render into like borders of each other, and that's what we bump up against too. When we project awareness around and we feel around, that's what we bump up against too, is other people's awarenesses, other bubbles along the same point of view. Sorry, I got distracted. The one who's not born of a woman, the thing that stayed through that entire process, the thing that was never created, the thing that has been, that will always be, that exists even when there's nothing. Its existence with nothing, for some people, isn't even a paradox. That's awareness, consciousness. Fall on your face and worship. That one is your Father. And in that, we have unity, and we are to love one another, because we are one another. Jesus said, perhaps people think that I have come to cast peace upon the world. They do not know that I have come to pass conflict on the world. Upon the earth, fire, sword, war. There will be 5 houses. There will be 3 against 2, 2 against 3, father against son, son against father, and they will stand alone. While Jesus is the archetype for unity, under this position, right? While Jesus is the archetype for unity, that unity has to come through the process of there being a dialectic, of there being a conversation between these positions, between majority and minority, two against 3, between multiplicity, equal powers, between humans, until there is a stable resolution. That's just the process of things occurring according to dialectics. And in that, Jesus knows that, and knows that in the time that it will take for this fire to kindle, there's going to be conflict, and we will get the closest that we will ever get to the whole world dying. Right? Global extinction or whatever. I don't know if that's necessarily, like, I'm not saying that's, like, exactly the case. Right, when talking about the future, no one can ever be really certain. But you can see these patterns in history, and these patterns in what this, of what the human tradition, of the human storytelling tradition has been telling us. And we can, if not make predictions, can say where this trajectory is projecting to. Because a lot of the time, those projections can be wildly inaccurate. But that's because that's the direction that our awarenesses move together collectively. If we collectively push our awareness collectively, let's say pray, right, to better things coming, right, and keep that intended intention, and not only have that intended intention and know that, like, when we do it, things will come. We have to do works as well. We have to back it with practice. We have to join local organizations. We have to do the work. We have to communicate with people. We have to talk about what we want our world to look like and how we're going to achieve that. Jesus said, "Perhaps people think I've come to cast peace upon the world." Jesus said, "I will give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard." We need to do our own dialectics, is what I meant. What no eye has heard, what no hand has touched, what has not risen in the human heart. The thing before all of these things, this a priori thing, the unmoved mover, the unmoved mover, the first principle. Jesus said to the disciples, "Tell us how our end will come. Have you found the beginning? Then what are you looking for at the end?" You see the end. You see the end will be where the beginning is. Congratulations, the one who stands at the beginning will know the end and will not taste death. Let's go back to our circle analogy, right? That we had going up. Freeform. All boards. New board on freeform. I don't know how to use this. Okay. Insert line with arrowhead. Hold on, let me put on some music while we're at it. I guess you can't draw. Huh. Whatever. Just put some shapes in, right? We have a circle, right? That's filled in, right? This is everything that exists. Sure, whatever. This is like all things unified. We'll symbolize that together, right? This is you. This is your beginning. This is your end, right? What the claim is that there are multiple of you, right? And multiple of you. Or both multiple of you and none. As in, like, this is either a full circle of itself. I don't know if I can do that. Or both the points lead into all other awarenesses, or no awarenesses, and it's nothing at the end. Both sides have the exact same thing. But if it's a circle, then there is no end, right? If it closes into a circle, then this line, this border around it, has no end, has no beginning, will not die, was not born, because this was the shape of it the whole time. It was uniform together. Bravo. Congratulations, the one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and not taste death. Jesus said, "Congratulations, the one who came in the beginning, who came into being before coming into being. If you become my disciples and pay attention to my sayings, these stones will serve you. For there are 5 trees in paradise. They do not change with winter, summer, winter, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death. Um, 5 trees in paradise, right? 5 pillars, of the ecosystem, right? These are sections or fractions of awareness. Likely, um, if my assumptions stand clear, which I will double check, these 5 pillars could represent archetypes within Gnostic tradition that have like certain properties that are certain properties. Sophia is wisdom. Wisdom, that entire concept gets Sophia the almost deity, but it's also a metaphor, but it's like the recognition that these forces are more unified as like agents than we give them credit for. And they do not change in the time, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death. If you know them, you will not taste death, but this is not a prerequisite to not tasting death, because if you know them, then you already aren't tasting death. Then you already recognize that you will not die, because awareness does not die. It just moves. And it continues to move always. But it also doesn't move at all, because it only exists in moments. The only thing that exists is the present. Moments move through it. It's a balance. It's both. It's when you recognize that things are non-dual, you recognize that non-duality means that two things are true at once. The cat is both dead and is both alive. All of these things are true. All things are true, not just in their own way, but actually, because otherwise, nothing. The options are either everything exists or nothing exists, and the truth is, it's both. If you become my disciple, and these stones will serve you, pay attention to these sayings, these stepping stones, sure, these hard things, right? Hard truths, sturdy truths will serve you. Unchanging truths. Congratulations to the one who came into being before coming into being. Congrats. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what the kingdom of heaven is like." And he said to them, "It's like a mustard seed, the smallest of all possible mustard seed, a singularity, perhaps. The singularity of what's left at the end of experience, awareness, consciousness, the smallest of all mustard seeds, but when it falls on prepared soil, right? When it's given the right illusion, right? When it's given the right conditions, right? Materially, but also ideally, as in like within the right context of thoughts, right? As a person or as a thought entity, as a freaking, I don't know, dream person or whatever. All of these things could be equally real and valid, fucking fictional or whatever, because at the end of the day, the point behind it is the mustard seed, is awareness. The smallest of all mustard seed, when it falls on good context of ideas, good context of materials, then it blossoms and continues to produce other good contexts of and continues to produce other goodness. And what's it called? We are all products of our material conditions, But that's because these material conditions are chains of links of events within and moments of consciousness within this chain of like cause and effect, and each moment affects the one that came before it. So there was kind of no choice in that. These things are set in stone, which is what some people could argue. I don't know if I do. That's a determinism argument. I think I was going somewhere else with that, but that's just where I ended up with that. But it does allow us some sort of agency. So I guess the text isn't describing that. But it's not what it's describing isn't that, right? But that's not a bad position to have, is that we're all going to do whatever anyway. Might as well already do the good I was going to do anyway. And produce good conditions for other people to do the good that they were doing anyway. Do mutual aid. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what the kingdom of heaven is like." Already read that. Mary said to Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" He said, "They're like little children living on a field that's not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, 'Give us our field back.' And they'll take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it them back. And they return to their field. And they return their field to them. For this reason I say, if the owners of a house know that a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives, and they will not let the thief break into their house, their domain, and steal their possession. As for you, then be on guard against the world. Prepare yourself with great strength, so that the robbers can't find a way to get to you. For the trouble you expect will come. There will be among you a person who stands, and then, when the crop ripened, will come a person who understands. And when the crop ripened, he came quickly carrying a sickle and harvested it. Anyone who has good ears had better listen," right? Children are playing in a field that's not theirs. This is these trials and tribulations. It's interesting that they describe them. This is the disciples, right? He's talking about oh, never mind. What he's talking about is fucking Judas and whatever. Give us back our field. Take these people live in ignorance a little bit, as we see by other points. They're seen as a little bit naive, but they're learning, right? And then the people who have the gnosis will be like, "Yo, what's up?" They'll be like, they take off their clothes, and they're like, "Sorry," and usually that's Jesus, right? And he sees that, he's like, and that's what usually happens. And therefore, you say, know who's around you, know your material conditions, know the context in which you are growing yourself, and in that case, you can grow to be something beautiful. And we need to do that about the world. This is Christ and class consciousness. Saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, "These nursing babies are like those who enter the Father's kingdom." They said then, "Shall we enter the Father's kingdom as babies?" Jesus said, "When you make two one, when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and you make the male into female, and the female into male, and the male into, and them into a single one, and so that the male would not be male, nor will the female be female, and you'd make their eyes in place of an eye, and the hand in place of a hand, and foot in place of a foot, and the image in place of an image, and then you will enter the kingdom. We have to unify two archetypes that we are seeing as masculine and feminine, right? Literally, unify male and female. That would be an interesting thing to do there. Sure, you could do it genetically somehow, but what is going on here is, of course, a metaphor, like always, right? Because we can't talk about the thing, we got to talk around the thing. When you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, when you unify these concepts, when you bring unity to the world in which we are aware, right? When you bring the reality and the reaction and the remembrance that there is no separation. When you make the outer like the inner, when you realize that what is out there is what is here, I am that. I am that. I am, as in what I am, awareness, that I am aware, that I am, expands by a lot. And you see a lot more. There's quite the vantage point. I should choose you one. I think these two masculine and feminine archetypes that come into play are the masculine and feminine archetypes of wisdom, logic, rationality, and harmony, unity, love, but also emotionality, instinct, and trust, and all that, right? When you have these two archetypes, right? When you have Jesus in the feminine archetype, you're like, who's the one that's the masculine one? Who's the logic? We are the logic. We are that. But that's specifically humanity because of an event that likely happened within human evolution at one point, where our brains became more rational, right? And it's likely at this time in the human evolution that which our rationality gave us a stronger sense of self, because we were now able to give values to things. We can count because it's rational, like rations, like rations, ratios, ratio, and therefore things have value. Now we can count. Now we can separate ideas and count out these ideas. And me being a collection of ideas, I can be fully collected and separated from the outside world, right? That's the fall of man, right? And the unification of the rationality that we have now had that has brought us great prosperity, and the recognition that unity has always been there, and that we need to work accordingly to be able to produce the best fruits, to like produce the best conditions for each other, so that we can all prosper as mutual aid within the illusion, by unifying those two concepts, and working as a Christ conscious species. That's the intended goal there. Jesus said, I shall choose you, one from 1,000, and two from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one. His disciples said, show us the place where you are, for we must seek it. assuming that. Okay, wait, I just skipped over this one. I shall choose you, one from 1,000 and two from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one, right? Any of you whom I choose are one. Any two whom I choose, any three, all of them, any random people are a unit, are connected, are related, but also tied, like, existentially, right? We are unified as a fabric of reality. Therefore, we stand as a single one. We only stand because we stand on top of each other. That which is not aware has one awareness. Things which are dead have no awareness, which is the awareness of God, which means there's a vacuum there. It's null, as in everything and nothing. That's what reality looks like below us, below illusion, is what this says. Show us the place where you are, for we must seek it. Context: the disciples would have believed, I guess, this is I know that the disciples that were like certain sects of Christianities who believed that the avatar of God who was on earth was like an aspect of God, and he was like projecting, he was like hologramming into the world, and they weren't actually like he wasn't actually a real human, right? And it was an illusion, right? And they were like, where you are is the kingdom of heaven, and it's realer than this, and it's better, and he's using a projection to come here. I want to see what that is. And he said to them, anyone with 2 ears had better listen. There is light within a person of light, and it shines on the whole world. If it does not shine, it is dark. Seems kind of like completely tangential, right? There is light within a person of light. Duh. But also, that light, that which is in the person of light, the person which is aware, right? The anointed one, the Christ, at that point, which is what Christ means, which is like anointed one, chosen one. There is a light, and it shines upon the whole world. They become a beacon, a totem pole for which other people can use as context to be good. Like think like the Black Panther Party and like the free school lunches, which taught the American government to do that, to give school lunches for free. If it does not shine, it's dark. Where there is lack of one, there is fulfillment of another. But it's like a cube, right? This cube has 3 faces that you're seeing. Rectangular prism. Now you see 3 faces of this rectangular prism. Did the amount of faces ever change? Does now it only have 2? Did the face ever change that is showing? Ideally, when you look at this thing as one solid object, no. But when you look at this thing as images, as flat projections of what this thing appears to be, then you can say, yeah, no, it does change. It does change appearance, right? That's what reality is at least 4-dimensional, and it looks like we change appearances, and it looks like we are separate, existing on this in this three-dimensional perspective. And we at least live in a four-dimensional universe, and science has already said so. And we know that science has said so because that they call it space-time. If we were able to have the perspective of seeing all time at once, we would see how it's all connected. But you can make that projection. You can also you can make a model of it. I can't say it'll be accurate. But what does that have to do with showing us where you are? For we must seek it. He's telling them that's how you get to where I am. This is how we're gonna do it. Is by establishing mutual aid, by setting the example and being the mutual aiders. In which case, Christ class consciousness will arise. Love, and I say Christ consciousness, but I also mean Buddha nature. This thing is not exclusive. This thing is not exclusive whatsoever. This is like the most inclusive, because it literally tries to include literally everything. Because it's based on that principle that everything is true. And exists in some perspective. Just not mine. Just not at my viewpoint right now. My limited perspective, which is limited right now for the sake of experiencing limitation. If you're everything and nothing at the same time, you gotta spice things up a little bit. You gotta experience all things, right? And so in that case, what you're gonna do, you're gonna have like think of it like two tanks, right? You have a tank of potential realities, right? And you have a tank of realities that is lived, right? And you feed it through one experience at a time. Through infinity, it just gets passed. And it passes back and forth. And this point at which it's passing back and forth, to which stuff is going to the potential world, and stuff is coming to a world of the what is like aware from the perspective of the illusion, is what we call consciousness. What we see as becoming less real, as going away, is the instance, is the like that sort of context, that frame of reality becoming less real by passing, by going into the past in a way, right? By going into this position of being discarded, right? That was real, and now we want to create another reality moment by moment, right? It's one instance by one instance, right? That you are experiencing these things, and they're becoming unreal as they stop being experienced, and they and the ones that like appear closest to you in front are the ones that you see as like, this is what my future could hold, right? And that could be as close as like me holding up this mug. And the imagination is one way of is the way that the brain has evolutionarily been able to predict that on an ideal level, and sense perception is the way that it's been able to do that in a material perspective. Jesus said, love your friends like your own soul. Protect them like the pupil of your eye. right? The pupil of your eye, this dark little center, this point at which, through this point, all things are able to be experienced. The fact of sight is able to be experienced. This point of consciousness, right? That consciousness, love your friends like your own soul. Protect them like you would your conscious experience, because it is the same conscious experience at the end of the day, because it all flows. It all flows together. Consciousness is undying. We are 30 minutes over. It is 12 o'clock, almost. Looks like we got a quarter of the way in. Almost. Yeah. So that's that section of the Gospel of Thomas. If you would like to experience more of this, let me know. I think I had a really fun time. Even if there was nothing really to bounce it back off of, I can jump. So, thank you for watching. All my socials are linked. Please go support. Let me check out my link tree. Please go support my friends in Palestine, of course. And I don't have any personal friends in Sudan, so I have a general thing here. If this is I'll look into making sure that this one is reputable. These are links to donation sites for my friends Abdullah, Kareem, and Anas, who all live in the Gaza Strip and are currently experiencing a genocide at the hands of the Israeli government. And we will get to them when it comes to talking about the demiurge and what that means. Spoiler alert, it's the what most people would refer to as the concept of hierarchy, which is my perspective, not everyone's. But yeah, please go, do what you can. Thank you for listening. I will catch you on the flip side.